Hello fellow readers, I am the Spectacled Reader, and first of all today I'd like to apologise for the fact that there wasn't a video last week and for the fact that this video is later than the usual day. As some of you may know, we reopened Bournemouth Library fairly recently, and even though I am a library assistant and not really involved with the planning and things, there has been a lot to do with moving the shelves back and making sure that there is plenty of space for people to be socially distancing in the library. There's still an awful lot of stuff to do with making sure that we can open things up more, and so yeah, things have been a little bit stressful recently at work. Added to which, as if that wasn't enough, I have started my master's dissertation for my library and information studies degree, and I'm writing about heritage and music cataloguing and how we can allow better access to things like orchestral archives and specialist music libraries, and that's with how we can do it with cataloguing, which to me is really interesting, but it has involved reading a lot of articles on like preservation and access and that kind of thing, and the more I look, the more there is to read. So there's quite a lot on my mind right now, which is why I have been a little bit slack recently with putting out videos. Apologies for that. And also my work hours have changed a little bit. I've moved a day or two, and so that means that I won't be able to commit, sadly, to Thursdays anymore. So videos will be going out sometime between Friday and Sunday, but they should still be regular within that. So things are changing a little bit, but don't panic. So I think that, like a lot of people, I have spent the last few months with lockdown sort of evaluating where I'm at the moment and thinking about past, present and future me and what I want to be doing with my life and that sort of thing. And I'm not going to get into that right now, don't worry, but I just thought I'd have a quick chat about what I've been reading in the last few weeks, what I'm reading now, and what I plan to be reading in the future, so sort of book version of past, present and future me. So without further ado, here we go. Firstly, I'd like to talk about two books that I read recently, very, very different books, could not be more different. And the first of those is Becoming by Michelle Obama, the former First Lady of the United States of America. And I don't actually have a copy of the book because I listened to it as an audiobook and have since returned it to the library, so I'll just pop a picture of it here. This book genuinely inspired me to want to improve myself and do better and learn more things and aspire to be the best version of me I can. And Michelle is just an incredible woman. She's come from very working class roots and worked her way through sheer determination to become one of the most powerful and well-known women in the world today. And I think that her story was just beautifully told, and she's not a big-headed person. She's not, boasting about what she's managed to achieve. She just talks about all the people who helped her to get her there and who inspired her to do her absolute best. And I listened to it as an audiobook, and she's got such a passionate way of talking. And yeah, I really I cannot recommend it enough. It was very, very worth reading. The second book that I'd like to talk about, it did come up in a previous video, I think a few weeks ago, and that is Jaws by Peter Benchley. As I said, could not be more different to Becoming by Michelle Obama, and it's very much a trashy summer read. Definitely not a chick flick. It is quite horrifying in parts, as you would expect. It's definitely not one for the kids. But as a trashy novel about a giant shark goes, it's pretty good. It took me a day or two to blast through because, yeah, it's one of those books that you can't put down. And yeah, it's not good literature, I will admit that. I wouldn't put it in the paragon of the Hall of Fame or whatever. But if you're looking for something quick, trashy, and a cheap thrill, go for it. To the books that I'm reading at the moment. So one of them is Whiskey Galore by Compton Mackenzie, just because I fancied something fun and funny, basically, and this is certainly proving to be that. It's quite a short book, and I'm about halfway through at the moment. It's set during the Second World War on the islands of Great and Little Toddy in Scotland, and due to the war they have run out of whiskey, and that is a horrifying prospect for a Scots person. And suddenly a boat runs aground filled with whiskey, and suddenly they have whiskey galore, hence the title. And as I said, I'm about halfway through, so I'm only at the point where the boat has run aground and suddenly they have whiskey again. So I can kind of guess what's going to happen next, given that it's a comedy, but who knows? I will let you know when I have finished it and give a full review then. Looking ahead into the future, and I've had to be quite choosy because I have a tremendous number of books that I really want to read, and I will talk more about that at some point. I'll talk more about the list and what sort of things I plan to read and how I choose books. That will happen at some point in the future. But for now, two books that I'm quite excited to read are the Penguin novels by Andrei Kurkov. And to be honest, I know very little about this book. I did start reading it. I read about 10 pages through and then realised that I also had about 6 other books that I was reading at the time, and want to save this for when I can really savour it and enjoy it. But again, it's a very funny book. This is very dark humour, from what I've heard, about a man who writes obituaries for a living and has a penguin called Misha. But yeah, the title got me. I'll admit, I love an intriguing title always, and I really love books which are just quirky and strange. And the other book, and again, two more different books you probably couldn't find, is Stephen Hawking, A Brief History of Time. I did try to read this when I was studying for my GCSEs some time ago, and my grandfather, who was a physics teacher, tried to explain how everything works and drew me a load of graphs, and I still don't really understand physics, but I feel like that's a knowledge gap that I really want to plug now. So yeah, I thought that I would just try and improve my mind a little bit by reading and trying to get my head around physics. So there we go. Who knows how far I'll get this time. I think I only got about 20 pages through it all those years ago, but I'm going to give it another go, and hopefully by the time I come back to my next video I will be a champion astrophysicist or something. Who knows? That's a few books which I have either read recently, am reading at the moment, or plan to read in the future, and it's not in any way linked to a larger theme of how I've changed, because I haven't, and it's been a very short space of time anyway, so change would be ridiculous. But if you've enjoyed this video, please click that like button or comment. Let me know if you've read any of those books or plan to read them. I'd be intrigued. Also, if you've got any book recommendations, please do let me know, because although, as I said, I've got a stack high of books to read, I'm always open to more books. I am a bibliophile. If you've enjoyed this video, please click that subscribe button as well, and I will see you next time. Bye!